Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Driving with Dave. I am Dave Neal here, host of Bachelor Rush Hour podcast with a very special guest. Actually, several guests. The first is the mother of my soon-to-be born son, and I guess the other is in womb, our soon-to-be named son. Ladies and gentlemen, with precious honor, I introduce my beautiful wife, Tasha Marie Courtney.
Oh, thanks, Dave. That's quite the introduction.
Wasn't that a good intro? I was just free-flowing right there. We are, how many weeks pregnant are we?
We are 38 weeks.
38 and change, probably,
yeah,
right?
38 plus 2.
And we are due on May 1st. This episode comes out on April 20th. I think this is a Taylor Swift line. I could be wrong in her new album.
Oh, sorry.
She has a lyric about her friends in her 30s either smelling like weed or having babies. And that's kind of where our age range is.
Yeah, 100%. I guess it just depends on if you live in LA or if you live in Nashville. If you live in LA, you smell like weed. If you live in Nashville, you smell like babies.
Which, by the way, both very viable smells for different reasons. One relaxes you, and one means you need to change your shirt because the baby probably just took a shit on it. I was talking to Claire Crawley about this, which that episode will come out on my YouTube and on this podcast next week. But she said the thing you won't be prepared for is the amount of explosive
blowouts. Yeah.
And my what I told her was, the only preparation I've had is reading the marketing tools on the diaper packaging, because it's always like blowout guard 2000. And I'm like, what are we not ready for here? But
yeah, you're not in my Instagram algorithm, because I have seen so many brown stained onesies where somebody's just like picks up their baby and it's like all up their back.
Well, I'm trying to look at the gravitational element of blowouts and how they go up the back. And then, by the way, I'm sure once we have a baby, we'll go, well, that's how it works. That's, they're doing cartwheels with full diapers, I guess. I don't really know. But we're heading right now to our, explain what we're going to do.
We're going to our hypnobirthing class. Hypnobirthing, for people who don't know, is the probably the new, I wouldn't necessarily call it trendy. It's been around for a long time, but it's definitely picked up steam.
It is like a Lamaze, but different.
In recent years, yeah. Like Lamaze was like probably the program of the 90s that was really popular. And I would say that hypnobirthing is like the popular program today for mothers who are wanting a natural birth. So it's all about like
natural meaning feeling it all and not having an
unmedicated birth.
Right.
So in order to prepare yourself mentally for an unmedicated birth, you've got to like release your fears and release like previously held beliefs around the birth experience being painful or traumatic or whatever.
And I have to tell you, now that I've done the watermelon challenge for 2 hours, hour and a half, I can relate, honey. I can relate. My back was sore for a minute. But yeah, so it's about control, right? It's about having a little bit of control over your breath.
Yeah, it's breath work, it's meditation, it's mantras, it's visualization. It's a lot of the things that we kind of already have practiced in yoga, in managing anxiety, in ice bucket challenge. What are the? Yeah, not the bucket. Just the ice bath.
Cold plunge.
Cold plunge ice bath.
Now, do you think these lessons we're learning will be able to apply to life with a baby, not just birth?
I mean, I hope so. I don't see why not. I think we definitely use breath work sort of in a subconscious way, wouldn't you say? Like when I'm going through periods of like really strong anxiety, I use meditation and breath work and like sound experiences to help manage my anxiety.
I did it last night before my stand-up show. I did 4 counts of a deep breath in and then 8 counts out. So yeah, I mean, absolutely the only way we can regulate anything is through how we choose to breathe. our body's going to try to get us to breathe in aggressive ways when it's in fight or flight. And if it's not a true fight or flight moment, if we're not actually needing to run from the wolves,
yeah, we're self-sabotaging.
We're self-sabotaging. And what we've learned through this class, not to preach to everybody because we're in the process here, but you learn that your body tenses up when it should relax. And actually, they were talking about, the tearing that can occur. And look, it could occur either way, right? But when you're tense, and I love that they actually brought in the, what's the body part?
The uterus?
The uterus. And was teaching us about the biology of the different muscle groups, the ones that are there for the actual, pushing out the baby, and how, you have to just be as calm as possible, because if you're tense in your jaw, it's going to translate all the way down to your perineal.
Yeah.
So, do I have this right?
Perineal.
Perineal? What's perineal? Whatever. Who cares?
Perineal is the type of flower.
Hey, that's your ass flower. Your butt flower.
No, it is. It's really, I think it's a super cool concept. And, obviously more than anything else, we want a safe birth, a healthy baby. But our preference is to go into it with the intention of having an unmedicated birth. And if circumstances change, they change, and that's totally fine. We're going to go with the flow. But this is all about just preparing ourselves and giving ourselves the tools to be able to accomplish our goal.
And I love that we're talking about fears as well. And I think by labeling our fears, other people might relate to having the same fears. Whether they're having a baby or not, I think is not the point, because the baby and the pregnancy and the delivery, to me, just seems to, it's like gasoline on a fire of how we're already supposed to be acting. Detached from, things that are out of our control. We might get to the birthing center and get rejected based on the dilation. Do I have this right? Based on other factors. You might decide, you know what? Or they might say, your water broke and it's been over 24 hours. You need a C-section right now. And we just have to go, okay, we did our best to show up as prepared as we could be. And now we dance to the scenario.
Yeah, but the idea of hypnobirthing, or the philosophy of the one that we're learning is the Mongan method. It's designed by Marie Mongan.
Yeah, put it up to the screen here for those watching on YouTube.
But her sort of philosophy, and many others that came before her, is that birth is like a natural physiological process for 99% of people. Like healthy, uncomplicated pregnancies, you don't have to think about making your heart beat. You don't have to think about making yourself breathe. The subconscious handles it. And the same way that animals just know how to birth, people just know how to birth, or used to just know how to birth before we sort of got, and this book actually really goes into the history of it, but essentially before doctors got involved and the Catholic Church got involved, all of these things, before a very recent history of interference.
Almost like men got involved, really. Men
got involved.
Now, there might have been men delivering babies in the tribes, but women knew.
No, that's actually, it's really true that it used to be that sort of I want to say witches, but your local medicine woman, sort of acted as a midwife and coached women through birth.
I remember growing up when my mom ended up getting a midwife for one of my younger brothers. I remember going, what in the sorcery is this? Why, how do they know? And then you go, oh, okay. It's sure, I'm the first person to take modern medicine and be very cynical in some ways. Now, obviously, modern medicine is great, C-sections and things like that. It'd be a tragedy.
In a complicated certainly not all births are 100%
which is
uncomplicated
why the
or
birthing
healthy.
center is right next to the other situations.
Yeah, modern medicine saves lives 100%.
But at the same time, if I had to,
but what we're trying to avoid is what they call the cascade of interventions, right?
Tell us about this.
It's where
sounds like an emo Green Day song. This is Green Day's new album, Cascade of Intervention.
Well, labor is not necessarily a quick process, right? Like you said, your water breaks. They say you're taking too long, your birth has slowed, you're not properly dilating, so they give you Pitocin to speed things up. But Pitocin, it has a reputation for being more painful than like a naturally starting contractions, which increases fear and gets mom all spiked up and can affect baby's heart rate.
And the fear means you're not relaxed, and the baby's not in that environment to come
And then
out.
they say baby's heart rate is dropping, so now we have to do a C-section. It's just kind of like one thing after another that they've introduced. They've interfered with like the natural process, maybe prematurely, and that leads to more and more interventions.
You know what the gift I'll say the husband, or I should say birthing partner, is given in this time period? I've gotten the chance to watch you fall in love with our son. And while I get to fall in love from the other side of your belly, it's inside of you. You light up when he does something goofy, when he's spinning around in a different direction. We don't even get to see him rolling his eyes and learning how to be funny and all of the cool tricks that kids learn as they evolve and grow. This is just the beginning. And I know for some people they might go, this is stupid, whatever, because like we're kind of the same way, and we were not cynical towards the baby making process, but we were kind of just like, they always say, well, you don't know till you do it. Okay, great. Then I don't know. Fine. And now it's like, oh, okay, pretty cool. But again, would I encourage others to have a baby? Get your life together first, because there's a dead deer, roadkill. Because we're so blessed to be in a position right now that is about as opposite as like my mom's position was, which was a single mom, no child support, had to work kind of right away. And that's scary, and I don't want us to have any additional fears on top of trying to do this the right way. Mm-hmm. And I think the modern world we live in
is not supportive to women and new moms and new families.
I'd run for office if I thought I could change this, and maybe there'll be something that comes to us about finding ways to, David Pakman put it really, really good, where he said, look, social democracy is not socialism. It's about providing a better low end for what we want, the lowest denominator.
A baseline.
So if that baseline means you need at least 6 weeks off, then let's start there. But currently,
we're literally the only industrialized nation that doesn't have like a paid leave policy.
Yeah, like
it's insane. It's insane. We're the wealthiest country in the world, right? And we're the only one that doesn't have a mandatory like paid leave period.
And I think when it's broken down, people say we should have that.
It's wildly supported, but for whatever reason.
And I think what we've seen in the ballot box is that women's rights issues do move elections in maybe ways they didn't previously. So maybe that'll be one of the next ballot items is, how do we better take care of families, knowing full well we can do a 4-day work week, knowing full well we're working 8 times more efficiently than our parents' generation was. I mean, we all have an iPhone in our pocket.
Corporations have had record profits now for decades, but wages haven't increased. So in my mind, all of those record profits amount to stolen wages.
They're stolen wages, and you and I, we could go on and on about it, but we know it's wrong. With the system we live in, we've been blessed to have you, our listener, our viewer, our audience, essentially fund you being able to not have to go back to work. I couldn't imagine a scenario in which you were hustling to store extra milk, and the pressure of breast milking already seems wild. So many people have to go to therapy and cope with, all of the challenges that come with that. And more people that I talk to say, yeah, as soon as I had that baby, I was trying to churn out extra breast milk so I could go, because I had to go back to work. And it is nothing short of a tragedy to think of. We are lucky and privileged that we don't have to do that. But we still have a lot of fears. I don't want to share them if you don't want to, but we wrote down our fears for our class we're going to today. Would you be okay if I shared mine?
Yeah, sure, you can share yours.
A case study that I have of a young family, which I don't need to out them, is a tired mom taking their baby and aggressively and angrily putting it in the father's hands because she was burnt out. The baby, what, do you have a term for this? Where the baby becomes the football? I'm not saying this in an abusive way, but I'm saying it in a, for sure, maybe not physically abusive, but for sure, it cannot be healthy to be so fed up, maybe because boundaries weren't set or the husband dropped the ball.
But honestly, that's the safest thing you can do is hand your baby off to someone else or set the baby down and walk away.
No, of course. I'm talking about like, take the baby, or using the, or like pulling it and like using the baby as some sort of like, I don't know. Anyway, I've seen this on more than one occasion. And one of my fears is that the baby will become something that is a product. Put it this way. Let's use the dog as an example. You know how many times I wanted to kick the dog in its head this week? We have a 15-year-old dog.
So mean.
He pee sprayed all over the bathroom floor. Now, people are going, the baby's going to do that. I get it. But the dog's 55 pounds. He's covered in his own pee because he's old. And sometimes he falls and he'll just pee on himself. He'll poop on. It's a whole thing. But then, like the other day, and again, I don't want to relitigate this, but I want to use it as an example. The dog became the thing that was friction between us. The baby's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I guess...
think that's a totally, like, when you're saying that's a fear, I'm like, honey, that's an expectation. Because we're both going to be absolutely sleep deprived, which is 100% used as a torture technique, right? We're going to be, we're navigating.
And health-wise, I'm going to be craving sugar because when you're tired. When I don't even get 6 hours of sleep, my next day is like, all right, it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah.
We're going to
be exhausted. And all of this is brand new to us. So it's going to be a lot of like trial and error and just figuring out what works. And it's going to be really stressful, even like in the best case scenario. You know what I mean? Like it's natural for it to be challenging because nobody's an expert at something the first time they do it.
Here's what I'm good at. I'm good at, if I, like my whole life of being single, I cleaned my clothes on my own. I did my laundry. Now, my bed sheets, didn't clean those often. I know, it's gross. I wouldn't be lying. If I told you the real number, audiences might spit their, soup out. But my point is that when I know, all right, I'm the one who takes control of the dog. I'm the one who changes diapers. I'm good at that. I kind of think we should have jobs that are like
a real, like regimented job description.
If I promise I am the dishwashing person and then the dishes pile up, I know it's on me. But when it's both of us doing it, things can slide. And that's what happens whenever I've lived with multiple roommates. Who ate this? It just becomes like chaos. There's no accountability. I heard from one of my interviews, which the audience will hear when we're birthing, my paternity leave is I banked some extra interviews, but I believe it was Stephanie, our friend from She's All Batch podcast, who you might meet in Vegas if you go at Steve's fan event. But is this the line for the exit right now? Boy, real bad traffic right here. But I heard she said the first X amount of weeks, my husband was full diaper duty. So I would be happy to be like diaper king. I'd be happy to be like, I'm the diaper king. You work on getting the milk out of those boobies. And again, not to put pressure on you if that doesn't work. I think we also need to lower the expectations so we don't feel incredible pressure. Because one of the biggest comments I get from moms is that they say, lower the expectation on the breast milk. Because if it doesn't happen, you're going to torture yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you feel like you're prepared for that or not.
No, honey, I've got a whole list of things. needing to be prepared for. And yeah, I think I'll cross that bridge when we get there. But the same as our birth plan, it's like I would like to exclusively breastfeed if we can. And, we have a little bit of time. We have some support, lactation consultants, like we can try and work it out. But again, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. We'll do formula.
You're probably as educated as you could be on it. So if it doesn't work out, it's not because you did it wrong. It just wasn't meant to be,
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're pretty safe there. And I think kind of the reason we're going to these classes, on your end at least, is I think you just like to be prepared for the unknown. I think you get sort of like stressed if you don't, like if we're going to a new restaurant, you want to go on Yelp, know what the people are wearing to the restaurant. You just want to be, you want to be prepared.
I like to know the menu.
I want to know the menu. What's the chef's astrological sign?
No, I think, and with like the hypnobirthing, a big part of, releasing fears is like some people would rather be blissfully unaware. I'm one of those people that would rather, like, I want to know like the intellectual portion. I want like me knowing everything helps me to feel relaxed.
It's like an actor learns their lines so good so that they can kind of not have to be...
Yeah, so they can be in the moment.
And that's muscle memory, right?
Worrying about remembering their lines.
And stand-up's the same way. You remember your act so that you can go out of it and come back. So it's not like, well, if I lose pace. So
yeah,
if
I like to be informed.
Yeah,
that helps me to feel safer.
Right. If you lose pace on your breath work, then we'll just remember. But what I do like the framework that they're giving us of like, well, when you're feeling waves or surges or contractions, when you're feeling those, this breath works better. And then they're giving me advice to say, all right, use the nonverbal cues from your wife. She might want touch, she might not. So it's all going to be, how can I best serve you in the situation? And one of the challenges for me is I feed off of adrenaline. I'm having a baby. I'm going to be a mess, and I can't show that to you. And that's going to be hard. I'm going to be like, yes, honey, this is totally, you're doing fine. And on the inside, I'm going to be like, ah!
Yeah, because we don't want like the pheromones of adrenaline. In our birth room, we want like peace and calm and cozy and serene.
And as it's been explained to us, and again, I think can apply to so many levels when you're in your zone of competence and whatever job you're doing or whatever your passions or creative outlet is that when you're in fight or flight mode, you're not able to deliver. Use that as a metaphor. It's for delivery for the baby, but it's also in other ways. When you're in your fight or flight, you're trying to run. You are a deer running to safety. You need to be in a place that is peaceful, calm, supportive, loving. You need all of your senses to feel as relaxed as possible to relinquish that flight mode so that you can let the world do what it's supposed to do. And I think as I kind of explained it, it feels kind of like just trying to train ourselves to get out of our own way.
Yeah, and for birth particularly, it's endorphins that are like making it all work, right? You need endorphins, you need oxytocin, you need the love hormone, and you can't produce oxytocin when you're producing adrenaline.
Did you know this before the pregnancy? Or
No.
This is all I learned too, which is so interesting because I think you and I, for different reasons, I think we challenge ourselves. I'll pat myself on the back here. I think we challenge ourselves with a lot of things that require us being brave. We're small business owners, getting on stage, performing, things like that. Putting yourself out there if you're making a reel for a client, like not exactly normal stuff. And we feed off of that. But as we've learned, stress is, and don't get me wrong, in some jobs, maybe some stress might make you perform better in the moment, but it's not sustainable. So to find out from these doulas and people we're talking about, not having researched it myself, but I'm taking their word for it, to find out that oxytocin, which is the commitment molecule you secrete when you hug somebody, breastfeed, have sex and orgasm, or not have sex and orgasm, the love hormone bonds us in different ways, and it's what keeps our tribe together, which will be so important early on after the delivery, that we feel that bond with our baby, which I believe we call the golden hour, and continue to feel, I think they said up to 75% of the baby's life, early on should be skin to skin contact. And, we used to have those baby kind of contraptions were popular, I think, in the 90s. And everyone's going back to Eastern religion. They figured it out.
What are you talking about? What?
I'm talking about swaddles. We used to have a lot of those baby things were not necessarily chest on chest. There's just a lot of what I'm seeing is what's more popular. I think one of the examples given in a book I was reading was that stroller culture is really big in the Western world. Like, put your baby in the bassinet, but it's like what they really need is to regulate on your heartbeat. And a lot of the wraps and everything, that's more Eastern like religion that continues. I mean, they wrap that baby so strong, they just go on with their day. They're doing
or more
taxes.
Primitive,
primitive, yeah. I say Eastern, but that's because I think Eastern is attached more to this primitive spiritual.
But yeah, we now live in this modern society where it used to be that we had our hunter-gatherers, right? The men are out hunting the food and the women are at home with the other women in the community. And yeah, baby's on you while you're cooking, while you're doing your work in the tribe.
It wouldn't be safe to have the baby laying on the ground.
People don't wear their babies to their job these days. You know what I mean? That's just
I'm going
different. I love that. I'm going
to be wearing my baby. I'm not going to tell people. I'm not going to wear him while I drive. We'll protect him. He'll be in his car seat. But yeah, I just look forward to. And again, I'm sure there's people that have a bunch of kids that go, "Oh, geez, you're in that naive stage." Absolutely, of course. Well, you got to start with some sort of baseline for what you want, and then we'll adjust based on the mood. So one of my fears is, what if we have a sad baby? I don't want a sad baby.
A sad baby?
That's a fear.
What do you mean a sad baby?
I don't know, either colicky or just kind of hurting, allergies, sick, skin doesn't, those things. I can't smile. I can't do dad things. That's out of my control. So I think my biggest fears are things that are out of my control, which is, if there's ways that, the baby's, having a hard time. But we'll overcome that. But I think the best way we can overcome these early days of the roller coaster, of course, all of the hormones and emotions and everything that come with having a baby will, deplete. They'll have to be restored. We're just gonna have to be okay that you might have a day 4. I don't know what day they say, day 5, real rough time, and just know that's the time that I just need to step up to the plate and not take any offense or have any ego to whatever you're feeling, and just try to create a scenario that minimizes that. I think we've got a scenario with our primary suite and all of our little lovey-dovey things and our little bathtub. I think we have a scenario that is so much better than we would have had a year ago. 3 years ago, in the apartment we lived in, it's a no-go. It's a no-go. We didn't even have an outlet in the bathroom. We went from no outlets in the bathroom to lots of outlets in the bathroom. I mean, I'm even considering putting a mini fridge in my walk-in closet now, just so that we've got quicker access to maybe some midnight treats. But I'm looking forward to, I did read some of your fears, one of which seemed to be maybe wondering if I'm going to step up to the plate.
Well, I fully expect you to, but I think I'm not necessarily good at communicating my needs.
What do you mean? You communicate them when the lavas come out of the volcano. Yeah, no, that's what it is, though. That's what it is. We need a seismic. I always say I can tell 3 seconds before you're going to cry or lose your shit, but not anything more than that.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it's over.
It's already too late.
But please, yeah, elaborate on that.
No, I mean, I expect you to support me, mentally, physically, emotionally, but, I do understand that you're also working to support our family, and it's been a struggle during the pregnancy to kind of feel like, our relationship has been on the back burner because there's so much else going on.
The stress of moving was...
The stress of moving,
Woo.
And
not just moving, the costs that came with this. I mean, a lot of our fights were like going to Home Goods and being like, how come we can't go to Home Goods without spending $700 every time? But that's just me, the accountant, being like, we're not doing this right. But,
I mean, you're obviously exaggerating, but...
Not by much. I think we spend $600 every time we go.
But, I just, obviously you're being pulled in a million directions with your work, and your mind is elsewhere because of your work. And I worry that, I'm not going to be able to express to you my needs. You're not going to be, what's the, I don't want to have to tell you what I want or what I need. I want you to know what I want and what I need.
So what if we do, and I think we do it day by day. I think we can have weekly goals, but I think it's also day by day. How can we, what I'm saying is this.
It's nice to have a plan, but I don't know what I need yet. You know what I mean? It's going to be constantly moving and evolving, on the day.
And when when the plan evolves, that can be tough on you. I've had times where I'll get a last minute gig, and it kind of you understand if a viral story comes out, honey, there's money to be made here. We got to strike. The commissions have happen when there's stories out there for the channel, right? But I think I can do a better job of not waiting for reactionary Tasha, and I think I can do a better job of even, I know it's hard to do this, but having a morning game plan. Let's open up the schedule. All right, I'm going to have to find a way to work for 4 hours. I can sneak that into 90-minute intervals, and while you're feeding the baby, I can do all these things, but that part has to get done because, of X, Y, and Z. And some days, maybe that's only 2 hours, and some days it's 5. But we're gonna have to keep on putting coal into the irons. Coal into the engine. But I think we both can agree if we discuss. I've always enjoyed the idea that 24 hours is enough time in the day, and obviously having a baby is going to throw a wrench into that. But I think we'll have enough time to figure this all out. One of the pieces of advice I got from Stephanie from She's All Batch, her husband called, and that we put him on the phone, and I said, give me some advice. And he said, you take the sleep whenever you can get it. And so I think we just have to be super loose and flexible, and we'll take the sleep when it comes. We'll have naps. We'll have these other things. I'm not going to be away at the car dealership all day. I'm going to be at home. So we'll just be ready to nap when we can. And our sleep is just going to look different.
Yeah, our schedules are going to look way different. I think it's just, having the flexibility. You have it. We have it. It's just going to be different.
Short of a trust fund, this is as flexible
not
as
really
it can get.
It's not necessarily maybe either of our strong suits.
Right. I've learned that my reward sensors in my body operate on short-term rewards, which is why my business model is I make content every day. I'm not good at I need to book a guest today for a gig I've got in 5. I'm not good at that. I think you and I, it's probably ADHD. I think we're both deadline people. This reel is due today, so let's bang it out today.
Nothing motivates me more than that 11th hour.
Honey, we're late. All right, I'll do all my makeup in the car.
Honestly, I've been thinking about it specifically on labor because, they say early labor, be at home, eat, rest, I feel like that's going to be, I'm going into labor. I guess I'll pack the bag now. That's almost, even when we go on vacation, I never pack the bag.
Let me tell this audience,
literally
the
leaving.
amount of money I've had to spend on checking an extra bag because you can't choose between the option of shoes you want because you didn't lay them out ahead of time. So you're like, all right, I'll pack it all. We've got aquariums and dog toys. We're just throwing things into a bag. So I haven't put any pressure on you, but it is funny to me in a very serious way where we should not be put in a situation that we don't have a bag packed.
But you do have time.
You can go into labor
But you
today.
do have time. that's my point.
No, we do. Yeah, you're right.
Literally, you have your 12 hours.
I bought the fan. I bought a little
fan.
We've got our bump suit outfits. We've got our slippers. I mean, we're going to be okay. We're just not.
I think we have most of what we need. There's a few things that we we should order today.
But some people pack that bag 6 weeks out.
Some people don't have ADHD.
Hopefully our kid is not neurodiverse so they can lead our lives for us. Little Jeffrey, please put my schedule together for the day. I just want to name a baby Palm Pilot, please. So yes, I'm sure as we explain these thoughts and issues and concerns, people are nodding their head in different ways. And you know what, they can tell us all day long to pack that bag, but ain't nothing gonna make you pack it like a good water breaking.
Yeah.
We got your diapers ready.
Yeah.
And we still don't have an exact plan about the dog, but with the help of neighbors and with the help of family that's not too far away, our dog's not needy. He sleeps all day, so we could theoretically leave him at home for 2 days and he would just have a wet diaper, which I know that's close to animal abuse and that's horrible. But I'm just saying he's not going to be bouncing off the drapes. He's essentially a carpet at this point. He just lays there and dreams. Oh, we love this guy. Anyhow, we are, we're going to another part of town. That's why it's a long drive. By the way, I don't know if people can tell, but we've upgraded new microphones. I just want to keep on investing in all of the ways we tell stories. So these are $140 microphones. They are much higher quality than what I previously was using. So often I get tormented when I am editing these Driving with Dave episodes because, there's bumps and grooves and there's sound issues. I lose cameras. I've had to buy new equipment to keep the cameras from overheating in California. And I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if anyone can hear how much better these are. But the other thing I'm excited about to nerd out is I bought a 1.4 f-stop Sony 35 millimeter lens. Now, what does this mean? It means it's expensive. Not to the point where it's a waste of money, but what's a newborn baby photographer? $400, $500? So I bought this lens. We're not using it right now because it's not wide enough, but I bought this lens, the lens we're using now is more wide. But the lens we're using now is a 2.8 f-stop, which means it doesn't let in as much light and it's not as shallow focus. So by shallow focus, I mean we're going to have close-up photography of our baby, completely zoned in to his beautiful blue eyes, maybe green. We haven't decided yet. Not our choice, although I got some strong swimmers. I got strong genetics, the Irish. And we're going to have, we've put together a nice little camera system to capture our baby. And I don't know, I'm just looking forward to all of that pride. I think that comes from, being able to grow our family. And I hope that love trumps any sort of fears about things that are out of our control.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to remind ourselves, you know what I mean? We're just going to have to check in, that's normal. And
selfishly, this Driving with Dave episode is probably more for us than anyone else. I like to share what's going on with our life because other people, we all had moms at one point. We all came from somewhere. We all came from somebody's womb for the most part. And, we just show that we're not trying to be perfect parents. We're kind of late to the party and we're late to figuring it all out. And with that comes, modern thoughts about it all. We have, we don't need to talk about it now because we don't have any answers, but, not taking lightly the vaccine burden on babies, not taking lightly choices to circumcise, not taking lightly all of these things.
Screen time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have never been more confident. Ladies and gentlemen listening, get your kid off their screen. I know you want to hang out with me, you throw a screen in front of your kid. Get them off of that crazy tech. Their body cannot handle it. I have a cousin. God bless her. She's raising her kids on a river. I think she did a river birth. I think she birthed her kids in next to salmon or something, And I'm I'm not saying you got to go that far, But it is kind of funny.
But she has a very cute, well-behaved kids.
Cute
smart
and healthy,
kids,
smart kids.
Healthy, yeah.
And not to say you can't get there with little screen time, but it's like, that's like saying, I think giving your kid screens is like giving your kid a plate of brownies and saying, all right, only one brownie, Jeffrey. Well, you're going to get mad at this kid. And I say that as a product of, wild sugar addiction, that like, hey, probably not my fault that I fell addicted to wildly good stuff. I'm not addicted to almonds. I'm not addicted. Ooh, I can't stop eating broccoli. I sneak broccoli in when no one's looking. No, I don't sneak broccoli in. I sneak those brownies in. And I'll negotiate with my addiction. I'll be like, dates. I'm going to eat all the dates. These are God's brownies. But anyway, we'll have this more talk on parenting and screen time. Right now, I brim with pride. I brim with pride that we have been given the chance to do this in a way that really maximizes joy of the opportunity. So by that I mean, it's still so fresh in my memory not being able to take you out to a nice dinner. It's fresh in my memory not being able to experience certain things because we lived in an extremely high cost of living area and I was making extreme low wages. And I don't have any advice like for other people that were in my other position other than to say, if you can really try to change your circumstance, the world does conspire to help you out. And I know that that's hard to swallow when someone's in their dogfight, but for those that have followed us, I used to get trying to remember, I used to get about 800 maybe downloads a week on our old podcast. And now we regularly get 9,000 a day, and kind of takes me the same amount of work, right? But now I get to do it with more passion and less resentment than someone who knows he's not making money and he's wasting his time. Or even I look at my love for baseball. My love for baseball was so brutally beaten down when I would have to go to my side gig right after a game because I couldn't afford to take a Sunday off, So I'm just offering, as we wrap this up, a little bit of gratitude that I'm able to be 100% on doctor's appointments. When I know a lot of men just don't get that opportunity. Thoughts?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I was just reading it today.
Oh, Tasha's got a bookmark in her Hypnobirthing book. Can we promote this book? I know we haven't really read much because, by the way, we should have said this. People might be saying, why are you doing hypnobirthing now? You should have been doing this 6 months ago. Again, remember, we do things last minute. That's just what we do.
And also, like, everything needed to be done. So it was really just like a high priority, what is the highest priority task? Okay, we'll knock that one off.
Like next. Triage. Yeah, it's a triage.
Yeah.
So our audience actually has given us way more grace than we've given ourselves because they've said, oh my gosh, you just moved across the country. You just furnished a whole house. You just did, and it's like, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. We did all that. And we had to do that to get to where we are now.
We've done the best we could.
We had to like batch it. We couldn't move and do hypno. It was like, let's, and it's kind of like back to fight or flight. We were in fight or flight, which is why I ate so terribly.
And that's literally that's your body keeps that in reserves for emergencies. You're not supposed to be living that way every day. You're not supposed to be high cortisol all the time, stressed out.
And we were for a good, easy 6 weeks. I mean, from the moment we bought the house, all the stresses that come along, you obviously lost your very well-paying job.
Pretty much immediately.
And I had to go, okay, we liked my income, but it doesn't look as sexy, now that it's the crazy health insurance costs that we have to, all that jazz. So it was a lot, but I have, in our entire 10 years of dating, I have slept better the last 3 months than I ever have in the last decade. And I'm finally shedding the idea.
Meanwhile, I'm sleeping terribly. No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I get it. But I am shedding the idea of my workaholic energy that a lot of comedians have, and I get it from my mom too, which is that I love to work for myself. Like X amount of time I put in is X amount out. Like it's a real equity situation, but it's a long journey, and I can't do it on 6 hours of sleep. It's, you know, when you do it on 7 or 7.5, it makes such a difference. So I've given myself a little bit more of that. I know I'm going to lose it with the baby, but you know, I'm just trying to give myself a little bit more time. All right, you got something for us to wrap up on?
Yeah, I thought about it when you were talking about, like, you know, our sort of journey these past few years. The power of the mind. Every thought becomes a plan. If you think a negative thought or vision, it becomes a negative prediction. If you think a positive thought or vision, it becomes a positive prediction and plan. You know, this is in my birthing book, but it's also like a philosophy that you and I have really applied.
That TikTok
to our
video,
lives.
I think you sent me this TikTok video. It was someone telling a pregnant couple, all right, don't think about purple kangaroos. And then they go, what do you think about? And he goes, purple kangaroos, little tiny purple kangaroo. I'm thinking of purple. And it's like your body doesn't understand the negative. So when you say don't be stressed, you're thinking of the stress. And I've always believed this with affirmations, which is like, you shouldn't have an affirmation that says, I no longer want to be poor. No. I accept abundance into my life. I am wealthy beyond my means. Like, you have to say it that way. It's not delusion.
No,
so much
it really
as it's
is
all, like, it already existed for you to grab. It's like one of those.
The power of positive thinking, the secret from, I don't know, what was that, 2004?
And I remind people, the power of positive thinking comes with positive action, right? You can't just think something into your life. You have to walk as if you have it and pursue it.
If you think a positive thought or vision, it becomes a positive prediction and plan.
Well, I couldn't be more in love with you, in awe of you, and I don't know of a way that this pregnancy would have been better. What has happened from late July, early August to now has been a wild amount of growth, both physically and spiritually for us. So hopefully some of that rubs off through the wires to our audience, and hopefully maybe this hit the right person. Any dismounting words here? This might be the last time we hear from you before Babes arrives.
Wow. I mean,
Think you're going to do a good job?
do I think I'm going to do a good job? I don't know.
Trying not to do the negative. You're like, oh.
I don't know. You don't know.
Put it this way.
Know.
Do you
it's
think
a brand new experience.
Do you think I'm going to do a good job? Old Daddy Dave.
I think we're going to do all right.
Yeah.
I think we're going to help each other out and encourage each other. And I think we're going to be excellent teammates, because we've always been excellent teammates.
When we know what our sort of like our playbook is. So like,
well, we struggle sometimes, but don't all teammates struggle sometimes?
And I think what's important is when we struggle, to just, label that and go, okay, let's adjust.
But we've always had like a shared goal and a shared vision, right? Like, we want the same outcome.
Yeah.
We want to be successful as a family. We want to love and support one another. And, knowing what our big goal is helps us to check in and figure things out and come together when things aren't necessarily going perfectly, and readjust. And that's all we can do, and we'll keep doing it. And I'm sure it'll be challenging, but we've managed challenges before.
Yeah, and if it's not challenging, then it's not something you're working on. And spiritually, the reason we're all here, like my belief spiritually, is that we're all here working on things that we need for ourselves. You and I have talked a lot about boundaries that you want to set with people in our lives. And like, there's no better time to work on that than having a baby and having to like communicate expectations. And I think if we look at this as a level in the video game of our life, it's more challenging than the day we met, but it's something we've built up to and we can handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to our baby chat. Maybe this was for you, maybe it wasn't, but if you made it this far, I think you enjoyed it. And we got more love to share. Will you join me maybe with baby in the back, and we'll do a carpool episode soon when we're in a safe place?
Okay.
Maybe we'll just do it in the driveway, not driving. Although I'm very blessed that we're in a very safe car. These cars are ranked some of the safest cars in the world, so we got that going for us. As long as it's not on autopilot. Anyway, thanks for talking to me, honey. Let's go to our class.
All right, sounds good.
Bye, everybody.